Hello and welcome. This is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. My name is William Kumwembe. In the program today, long wait for IMF program as the fund concludes its mission in the country. And also in the program, Malawi secures $60 million to revamp the energy sector. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned.
Sometimes, our dreams keep us up at night. They can even make us miss out on those little but special moments. And sometimes, they can make us lose focus on the important things. But at National Bank of Malawi, we believe that your dreams should not stop you from living your best life. That is why we're stepping up to help make your dreams come true with Step Up Young Professionals. With Step Up Young Professionals, you get efficient digital financial services, affordable credit facilities, financial management and wealth creation workshops that are crucial as you progress in your career. Call 626 for more details. National Bank of Malawi, the bank of the nation.
Our main story in the program today. Between May 25 and June 3rd, the International Monetary Fund IMF mission team was in the country to discuss with the government officials on the possible next extended credit facility program, ECF. However, there seems no green light as we speak, as the IMF is yet to make a move in as far as the new ECF program is concerned, as there are some areas that the country needs fixing. Now, joining me in the studios is an economist from the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, Mubasi, that's Bechani Chelen, to discuss what this means to the Malawi economy. Welcome to the program.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
First things first, IMF says Malawi needs to urgently, I would use that word, address debt sustainability and resolve the misreporting to qualify for a new ECF. A new ECF that we've been for quite some time waiting. Yeah. What does this mean?
Look, let's first of all start by looking at how much money we're looking at here. We're looking at about 350 million US dollars. I must hasten to mention that it's not enough based on our deficit, because our import appetite is quite huge, but that's the lifeline. 350 million US dollars is quite a lot of money that we are asking. And if you look at that amount of money, you have to ask the questions to say, where is the IMF taking this money? So it's a loan which is coming to us. It's a soft loan, as you might want to call it. ECF is actually an extended credit facility aimed at helping you to, stabilize your economy. Now, because it is a credit, it means that we have to show the ability to pay back that loan. We are an economy which is not rated by any credit agency at all, and therefore for our ability to pay back, our credit worthiness is actually determined by other individuals such as the IMF. So there are many other organizations out there, development partners, who are keenly watching what the IMF is going to say. Now, the data on the ground, it does show that our debt has accumulated to quite unsustainable levels. It's quite high. And therefore, if it goes beyond, I think it's 65% or 70% of the GDP, then you say that it has become unsustainable to the extent that you are now a HIPIC, a highly indebted poor country, and you can't be going on to get some more debt. Why? Because chances are that you are going to fail to pay back that loan. But also, the point that is coming into play, and it's an important point as well. It's got something to do with integrity of them who are charged with the management and administration of financial resources in the country. So we have been informed that some people did not do a good job misreporting of foreign reserves and everything of that sort. So the IMF needs to be approached with honesty. And now we must remember we are beggars, and we are beggars in ICU. So when you are in ICU, you really get whatever is being given to you, for as long as you have been told by your doctor that this is going to get you out of the ICU.
The IMF recommended, among other things, devaluation of the
Yes.
kwacha by 25%.
Yes.
Recommended the hiring of Financial Intelligence Authority director. Should we say the IMF is asking too much from the country?
I wouldn't want to say so. I mean, you see, there's always the risk assessment. So the risk that has been assessed on us is that if we are left without certain conditions to be put in place to check our appetite on how we are going to use the resources if and when they have been given to us. So if those checks and balances are not put in place, which we call conditionalities, of course, then we are going to use this money haywire. People in this country, they love to drive big cars. If you're not careful, people are going to buy those big cars for themselves. If you're not careful, people are going to be flying around going to conferences. If you're not careful, those drugs that you want in hospitals are not going to be there. So the IMF is saying, hey, give us that plan. So for me, this is not too much because it's their money. Come on, it's their money.
But for argument purposes, people are out there saying IMF has an approach that is called one size fits all, thinking that what could work for Malawi should work for any other country.
But it's not
across the
necessarily
globe.
the case. If you look at it very, very carefully, they come into your country, and yes, they do have a checklist. So they check, you know, debt sustainability. That's where they are. Governance, you know, interest rates, exchange rates. That's where they are. So they do check that. It's because, from a theoretical point of view, in macroeconomics, we all agree that when certain things are not in order, certain things cannot work. In this case, for example, if your currency is overvalued in an economy where you are a net importer, that's just cosmetic. So with the devaluation, you are assuming that now demand is going to shift a bit backwards. With that shifting, you can actually begin to talk about equalization, or indeed somewhere where you can say that there's some stability that has been achieved amid, of course, high prices of commodities.
Talking of devaluation, other commentators feel, is it a way of addressing the problem? Because the problem, as you're putting it, we are a net importer. We are unable to produce enough to attract more forex into the country. Now you bring down the value of the currency. Would it bring the forex we desire in the country?
No. It's not like it's going to bring the forex that we desire for everything, but it's going to release some foreign exchange for certain important, aspects that needs to happen in the country. By the way, I am not supporting devaluation. This needs to be very, very clear. It is not very good for an economy like ours, but it's a necessary evil which needs to be undertaken if, number one, we are going to ensure that essential commodities, we are able to bring in the essential commodities, and number two, we are able to unlock some resources from our development partners.
We have 2 weeks or so, rather 4 weeks or so,
Yeah,
between
5 weeks,
between now and next month, when we are expected to bring back the textbooks to the International Monetary Fund for a remark, if I'm to use that word.
Yes.
2 key issues, misreporting,
Yeah.
as well as the status quo in as far as the plan, in as far as dealing with the debts is concerned. Are we going to make it within the
We
time frame?
should. I'm optimistic. We can make it, actually. Let me start with the debt management issue. We are already there because we have brought in those consultants. But also, if you look at the misreporting issue, it's about auditing. And we know that there are preliminary results already. So what is happening now is that Ernst & Young is finalizing the report. And I think there's a promise that by the end of this week, this very week, that report is going to be ready. So are we going to make it? Yes, we're going to make it, but the question that we have to be grappling with, and I think if there's going to be anything that should be stressing us, is whether the report is going to be good enough so as to entice the IMF to say that, okay, now we can give you this amount of money. I'm happy that some of the things that I worried so much about were not necessarily, captured directly by the IMF. I'm a bit happy with that, because some governance issues, for example, if they came out, that would have been quite disastrous for us.
Last but not least, if it is discovered that there were some level of misreporting, it would be expected of us to pay back some to the International Monetary Fund. Would it be fair for the country to be punished over past sins?
Look, I like the approach which the minister and the governor took when they were, negotiating with the IMF. They have already seen through the preliminary report of the Ernst & Young that it's around $70 million, and they are saying that, look, guys, can you consider the ECFX minus the $70 million? We take the responsibility. If it is not going to be this government to pay, then which government? It is the government of Malawi, not necessarily about who is in power. So government of Malawi means represented. So whoever was in government or whoever is in government, it doesn't matter. But whoever has that responsibility, the charge of running government affairs now, is the one who should be, stressing about how we are going to pay this.
Mr. Chellen, debt and debt has proven unsustainable for the country.
It is.
What's the way forward?
Industrialization. It's that intent. Let's create the development bank, or if we think that the development bank will take us too long to create, maybe this is now the time for us to sit down and say that we are taking these resources from here and we are releasing them for this particular thing. A decision, not planning. We already have done enough planning. Let's do the implementation. Industrialization is what is going to take this country out of this economic quagmire.
Industrialization is what will take this country out of this economic mess. Thank you so very much, Mr. Bechan Chellen.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Mr. Bechan Chellen there, an economist from the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences. We'll be right back.
Sometimes, our dreams keep us up at night. They can even make us miss out on those little but special moments. And sometimes, they can make us lose focus on the important things. But at National Bank of Malawi, we believe that your dreams should not stop you from living your best life. That is why we're stepping up to help make your dreams come true with Step Up Young Professionals. With Step Up Young Professionals, you get efficient digital financial services, affordable credit facilities, financial management and wealth creation workshops that are crucial as you progress in your career. Call 626 for more details. National Bank of Malawi, the bank of the nation.
Welcome back. This is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And moving on with the program. For quite some time, Malawi has been grappling with energy woes leading to persistent power outages. Now, there seems to be hope and light at the end of the tunnel as the World Bank has offered to give Malawi a $60 million funding towards the rehabilitation of the Kapechira power plant following its damage in January this year. This would help to ease the pressure that the country has been facing. Our journalist Justin Kweo has the whole story.
Earlier this year, the Malawi nation was struck by Tropical Storm Anna, which destroyed a lot of infrastructure, including the Kapechira power station. The destruction to the power plant removed 132 megawatts from the national grid, which is about 32% of the total electricity in Malawi. Since then, the country has been facing blackouts of up to 8 hours a day, and the blackouts are worsening. But a ray of hope has emerged as the Ministry of Finance has secured a $60 million funding commitment from the World Bank, which will be used for the restoration of the power into the national grid by different players in the power sector. Minister of Finance Sosten Gwengwe confirmed the development, adding that there are other dollar resource funding commitments which the bank has made. President Lazarus Chakwera also confirmed of the development when he was opening a solar power plant at Golomoti Ndedza on Monday.
Well, we may not be out of the woods yet, but I can assure everybody that we're moving in the right direction in order that we might produce and provide the power that's needed for the development, so that 2063 is not just a pipe dream, but something that is being realized.
One of the players in the energy sector, the electricity generation company Ejenco, also confirmed the development in a separate interview on Tuesday. Ejenco spokesperson Moses Gwaza said the firm has been in discussions with the Bretton Woods institution, and they have reached a solution that it will provide the resource for the restoration of Kapechera Power Plant. Gwaza added that part of the money will be a grant, while part of it will be a loan. He further said that it has also to be noted that the money is for the whole emergency power restoration project, meaning that part of it is going to other state institutions within the energy sector to support their restoration as well. Apart from destroying Genco's infrastructure, Tropical Storm Ana also destroyed Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi ESCOM infrastructure, such as power cables and transformers, which also need repairing. Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry President Lekani Katandula said electricity blackouts are one of the hitches to the growth of the economy. Katandula added that they are happy to see efforts being taken by government to restore power because it will help the industry lower the cost of production and increase productivity. He further said that they are happy with such initiatives from government, but they hope that the restoration will be executed with speed and see their completion by the end of this year for the benefit of both micro and macro economy. Unavailability of electricity was listed by MCCCI as one of the problems that are delaying industrialization in Malawi.
Now moving on to other business news stories. The recent devaluation of the Malawi kwacha by about 25% would not have an impact to the banking community, according to National Bank of Malawi chairperson Jimmy Lipunga. He said this when the bank hosted its annual general meeting on Friday in Blantyre. Our journalist Justin Kweo reports.
2 weeks ago, the Reserve Bank of Malawi announced a 25% devaluation of the local currency, the Malawi kwacha. The devaluation aimed at giving the local currency its true value and aligning it with the current market trends. The devaluation, however, sent fears into consumers that the rising of prices in goods and services may escalate. But National Bank of Malawi, PLC, says the 25% devaluation of the kwacha will not have huge impact on businesses and individuals because government has just actualized what was already there. The bank's newly confirmed board chairperson, Jimmy Lipunga, said for the past months, the dollar was already trading at 1,100 kwacha on the black market, and the devaluation of the local unit has just actualized that. He added that the hope for businesses is that there will not be double counting to take advantage of the devaluation and raise prices of goods and services higher than normal because the devaluation has already filtered that.
Yeah, the devaluation, I made reference to it. So the way we interpret that devaluation by government is to simply formalize something that was already there. If you went into the what is known as black market, the dollar was already trading at 1,100 kwacha. You would never access foreign exchange at 800. No one was willing to sell. And the inventory in the market was already priced at on the basis of 1,100. And we would hope that there will be no double counting, where now people now add another component to respond to the 25% devaluation. I believe that that has already filtered through, and we should not expect further increases in prices. What one is hoping is that the exchange reserves will improve with the devaluation. More people now be willing to sell foreign exchange into the system. Hopefully with the IMF dialogue, that will also release some foreign exchange, and the uncertainty will be eliminated. That way, it will be good for everyone, including the banks. So the outlook is a lot more positive now than was the case perhaps a few weeks ago, because by officially devaluing the currency, it means we have eliminated the speculators, and everyone will now plan on the basis of a guaranteed or at least a known rate for the foreseeable future.
Lipunga further said the devaluation can be a blessing in disguise because it can discourage imports, since importing has been made expensive, thereby promoting the consumption of locally produced goods and services. During the AGM, it was revealed that the bank has made 34.21 billion kwacha profit after tax in the year ended December 2021, which represents a 57% increase from 22.45 billion kwacha profit after tax made during the year ended December 2020. One of the shareholders of the financial institution, Frank Halawa, said they are happy with how the bank is operating, but the bank should work on lending to individuals more than to government.
The overall performance, I think, if in that meeting we're talking about the overall duty of the bank is to lend out and so forth, and we said in their accounts did not show any growth in their core business of lending out. They made money from the treasury bills and so forth, which is not their core business. So that was our concern. Looking into the future, could we continue making money through these treasury bills? What other avenues are they thinking of? So that was our concern, and it's a serious concern, of course, because the core business of the company is not making profits as it's supposed to be making profits. Dividends are always a good thing, mainly at this time when things are a bit difficult, in Malawi. So if any payment of dividend is welcomed, and I think, as they said, their dividend policy is 50%, and if they have paid more than 50%, then we are happy.
National Bank of Malawi, a public listed company, is one of the oldest financial institutions in the country, with branches scattered across the country.
Now, tea production and marketing experts have reiterated the need for Malawi to intensify consumption of the commodity if it would remain competitive, as the export market remains lucrative. Of course, there is need for increased number of consumers of tea in the country, which is seen at about 2%. And they say also there is need for increased labor force and approach to doing the work in as far as production of tea is concerned. Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi visited the tea fields in Mulanje, from where he filed this report.
Tea is one of the country's cash crops, but earnings from the crop remain subdued at about 8 to 9% of total export earnings for Malawi. But what can we do to leverage on the fact that the country produces tea and maximize export earnings from the crop? A question for Nick Mpangwe, Chief Research Scientist at the Tea Research Foundation of Central Africa.
The best is to adopt the new high-yielding, high-quality varieties, but we should take note of the limitations that the industry has. The industry is limited in terms of land available for expansion, such that unlike in other countries where they have excess land to expand on, in Malawi, the grower has to uproot the old tea, put in a new variety, which is very expensive. And we have had in the past support from the EU through what was called STABEX, that enhanced a lot of replanting with the new materials. The only potential we have to expand is in the smallholder sector, because the smallholders have little but several pieces of land where those in the favorable areas can actually plant the new materials. Normally, on average, on a long-term average, we produce around 45 million kilograms. And the prices do vary, but generally in terms of ability to earn forex, we have been estimating that the tea industry contributes around 8 to 9%. That can vary depending on the years, because our production sometimes gets lower than 45 or in excess of 45 million kilograms.
Smallholder farmers who are expected to take on the challenge to increase production of this crop say they face numerous challenges, such as high cost of the varieties for them to access and be able to increase production.
It is a very welcome development, because we have already seen some good advantages that we have seen, because initially when we were growing the tea that was planted in 1965, our yields were only 8,000 kgs per hectare. But using these new latest clones, we have seen that our farmers are yielding up to 18,000 kgs per hectare. And this is why we have seen an increase in the smallholder tea in Malawi, because in 2012 we were only yielding about 12%, about 3% of Malawi total tea production. But last year, because of these new clones, adopting these new clones, we are yielding about 10% of total Malawi tea production. The setbacks normally are that these new clones are quite expensive to get, and you need a lot of them. Like per hectare, you need to plant about 11,000 plants per hectare. While the old varieties that we used to plant, we only used to plant only 6,000. So these new clones are quite expensive. And the cost of production also in terms of fertilizers are going up. So that those are some of the setbacks that we are seeing. And at the international market, we have seen that tea prices are also coming down, have been coming down since 2017. They are actually showing a downward trend since then.
When all is said and done, there is need for stakeholders in this industry, including government, to come together and find solutions of maximizing the potential of earning the much needed forex for the country from this crop.
Well, that report also brings us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.